It's been called a grinding thing of steel, a modern behemoth, a 40-ton state war machine, a symbol of the crushing march of progress, and a giant gun on wheels.
If we were in battle, World War II, rolling along a road in Belgium or something, would we be sitting with our heads out like this?
Not if the enemy's around.
A tank is an icon of war, power, and military might. They're not used as part of a reasonable discussion between gentlemen. They're built to attack, destroy, and occupy territory.
And it all starts with intimidation, folks. If you want to create fear and terror in the enemy's heart, you got to create a machine that looks and acts the part. And there are 3 factors that determine a tank's success. Mobility,
Armor.
and a whole lot of firepower.
It's kill or be killed, folks. End of discussion. The main battle tank of the United States Army and Marine Corps is the Abrams M1. 3 main versions were deployed starting in 1980. The first was tested in the Gulf War in 1991, and the current version went back to finish off the job its daddy started. It's one of the best tanks in the world for blowing things up real good, if you're that kind of a person.
Hi, my name is Sergeant First Class Audie Person, A Person. Right behind me, I have the M1A2 SEP tank. This is one of the best positions for most people that join the military. This is the position they usually start out in. The driver actually is in a small confined space, but he actually lays down the drive. He has a T-bar, just like a motorcycle. What he actually do is turn them to give it gas, and it powers the tank forward. In order to stop, he has a brake, an emergency brake on the floor as if in a car. It's a pretty comfortable position for a short guy, not for tall guys. This position here is the loader's position. He's responsible for loading the main gun, which is here to our left, and the ammo is kept behind these fire-proof doors. The gun actually recoil back to about here, and it'll drop out what's left of the shell into this basket. Once the round is ejected, he disarms the gun, and he loads another round within 5 seconds. And that's pretty good for a good loader. Myself, I was a 3-second loader, but not everybody can be as good as me. This position here is the gunner's position. It's self-explanatory. He shoots. This position here is the tank commander's position, my position. My overall duties as the tank commander is to tell the driver where to go, the loader what to load, and the gunner what to shoot. From this position, I can control the whole turret and the tank, as well as the 50 caliber machine gun and the main gun of the tank.
And nothing spells control better than a really big gun. Tanks come in all sorts of configurations, but their basic structures all have a turret that carries a large cannon, machine guns, and can rotate up to 360 degrees in either direction without turning the hull of the tank. The turret and hull are supported by wheels driving along a track system made up of hundreds of metal links that allow it to move easily through rough terrain. But the secret as to what makes the tank the most effective ground-dwelling killing machine is in its stabilization and suspension. Working with the laser rangefinder, the stabilization system allows the tank to aim and fire its cannon while moving, and the torsion bar suspension system keeps the crew from being shaken around inside while traveling over bumpy surfaces like cars and, you know, people. The tank was born out of World War I and got its name when British factory workers were told they were making tracked water containers, or tanks, for the army to keep their manufacturing a secret. The first successful prototype tank that went to war was the Mark I. Taking the place of the cavalry on the battlefield, Mark I tanks broke the deadlock of the trenches. The first successful tank attack was in 1917, when 300 British tanks attacked and defeated German defenses at the Battle of Cambrai. Eventually, tanks ended trench warfare altogether. By World War II, Germany and all the Allied countries had their own fleets of tanks, marking the beginning of the war between metal monsters. John Richardson joined World War II in 1939 and became a tank troop leader, commanding Churchill tanks and then Sherman tanks throughout Italy and Northwest Europe.
Well, I tell you, it's the worst job I ever had in my life, perfectly honest with you. Our regiment, along with one regiment of the Royal Tank Regiment of England, were getting Churchills at the same time. It was ridiculous, 40 tons of tank carrying a pea shooter around. So when we got the Shermans, they at least had a gun on them. They had a 75 millimeter. It was a short barrel, and it wasn't terribly high velocity, unfortunately. We'd like to have about 3 times the length of that gun and souped up to about 3 times the power that it had. We wouldn't maybe be on equal terms with the Germans. We had more tanks than they had. That was the only good thing. And we could move faster than their tanks. And that was a lifesaver in many cases too, I guess. But gun to gun, we were badly outmatched, of course. They had high velocity 75s and the famed 88 on Tiger tanks. They were deadly. To get a German tank, we had to get broadside of them. We could knock their tracks off and we might get a shot on the side somewhere. But we had to kind of get them dead to right. Well, I guess we were all fearful to a great extent. If you're not fearful, you're crazy. I'm not sorry I went, not a darn bit. I wouldn't have missed it for anything. I feel sorry for people who didn't have the experience of going into war like that. It's a wonderful experience to have. It's nice to come back and win peace.
Appreciating the experience of war might not be popular, but the appreciation of firepower can be found just about anywhere.
Well, the first rifle I owned was a Lee Enfield 303, and it was about the same length as this. Of course, this is a single-shot 1873 Springfield, the kind that Custer used in his last stand. The shorter version, of course, but it's a single shot that takes a cartridge for each shot. Well, once you got the nitrocellulose bug, so to speak, you like firearms, everything about them is of interest, because to understand a firearm is to understand history. That's how history was made. I probably owned maybe 500 rifles, and then I figured, well, I haven't got any room, so I may as well buy a tank because it won't take up much room. This Chieftain, I think, was probably built about 1969 or 1970. The British Army never used the Chieftain in actual combat. It was just a peacekeeper. Iran had purchased some, and they used them actually against Iraq. I think there was close to 800 or 900 of them. And I think there's still some sitting in Iraq that were captured by Saddam Hussein. But this was one of the first computerized tanks because it had a ballistics computer in it. Laser rangefinders, and it could shoot on the run. Plus it had the biggest gun and the most armor for the tank of its time. When I bought this tank, my wife was not really impressed. Anyways, once the tank got here and everybody saw what it really was, I was forgiven for, for actually purchasing it. Well, in Fort McMurray, I think it's amazing the attention that it does draw. Because it was a big, awesome piece of equipment with a 120 millimeter gun hanging off of it. Oh, I really love owning this tank. Yes, it's sort of like a big toy, in a sense.
You want to play in the backyard, that's fine, but just don't try firing the gun without a grown-up around. As the main battle tank for the Allies, over 50,000 Shermans were built during World War II, and one of them is right here at the Oshawa Military Museum.
Jeff.
Hello, Frank.
Hi.
Is this your tank?
This is my tank.
Let's get in your tank.
Yeah, you want to go for a ride?
Yeah. How do I get in the tank?
Just step in the sprocket there on the other side and pull up on the light guard.
Boy, that sounds familiar. Yo. You're quite spry there, Frank.
Yeah, and I've got the arthritis.
Oh, God. You got the arthritis. Here we go.
I think that's your problem.
Wow, Frank, I like your tank.
Hey, main battery switch on.
Main battery switch on?
Yeah, fuel.
That's not the fuel switch.
Roll your tank! It's got a horn? Beep beep, we're coming to kill ya! Captain Frank and his tank. It's not uncomfortable though, Frank.
I'm okay.
It's just like a convertible.
Yeah.
So, like if we were in battle, World War II, rolling along a road in Belgium or something in this tank, would we be sitting with our heads out like this?
Not if the enemy's around. No, you'd be hatches down looking through a periscope.
They go down like this.
Yeah, that's it.
That's sort of in a hurry. What do you have down there? You got a steering wheel down there or what?
Tiller bars.
Oh, okay. Oh, it's like a forklift.
Yeah.
Basically a big old armored forklift.
There's two clutches, one on each engine,
Right?
and the two engines are geared together. And if you have to, you can actually disconnect one engine completely and just drive on one.
Why would you have to?
Maybe took a shell hole through the engine compartment, damaged one engine.
Dude, I think if we took a shell through one of the engines, I'd be out of here and running.
Well, that's probably a good idea too, but if the tank was still drivable, I'd stay with
Yeah.
it.
Hey, these things would burn though, huh? It'd be bad to be in a fire in a tank.
Oh, it's a pretty ugly situation because there's next to no escape from it.
Tommy cookers.
Well, that's what the Germans called them.
Tommy cooker.
Yeah. When you get a fire in a tank, it was called a brew up.
A broom?
Yeah, brew up. Like brewing up a cup of coffee or something.
Aye.
But,
That's what you would call dark humor, Frank.
yeah, oh yes. Well, you gotta maintain your humor, you lose your noggin.
I'm a little tired of driving. Let's do some shooting.
Hey, why not?
God, Frank, that's a view you don't want to have too often in life.
Yeah.
Okay, Frank, what do we do to fire this pea shooter?
Well, a pea shooter, this is a real gun. We start off with our shell casing, and this is our blank round shell casing, and it goes in the breech. I've already got the breech open.
Yeah.
Slides in here, and normally the gunners would just use a fist to ram it in, but because they're a little awkward to work with, and this thing's like a loaded mousetrap, I use this block of wood. It's in the breech now, and that's what we call one up the spout.
So now what do we do?
Next thing would be drop down into the gunner's seat, and when you're given the command, you stomp on the red pedal on the floor, and away goes the shell. Put a 20-pound projectile towards somebody that you don't like.
Let me think. Okay, I'm ready.
Just punch this, Frank?
Give it a whack.
Besides blowing things up, tanks have been used for another purpose, peacekeeping. And nobody's known better for keeping the peace than a Canadian. Canada's main battle tank is the Leopard 1. Built in Germany in the late 1960s, it was bought by Canada and put into action in the late 1970s.
Well, the Leopard tank for the Canadian Army in Bosnia and Kosovo was mainly used for peacekeeping as a show of force, show the warring factions. If they overstepped their boundaries, then we would show them that we had the capability to step in and stop whatever they were doing.
The Leopard tank, it's a wicked machine. It's old, but it's a good motor. It's wicked acceleration. You'll go anywhere.
The turret that we have now still employs the 105mm gun system. However, we do have upgraded fire control systems that help employ a lot faster firing on the move. Peacekeeping has changed a lot in places like Afghanistan. There's a lot more attacks against Canadians. The insurgents' tactical procedures is they're doing a lot of hit and run. What's happening is that we're stepping it up. So we're not going to allow ourselves to be put into a situation where it's going to take us a long time to start employing weapon systems.
Reaction time during combat is way up there, and so apparently is your ability to survive, at least on one side of the fight. In keeping with that, the US military's Abrams has armor made out of depleted uranium. It's 2.5 times stronger than steel and has raised the Abrams weight to 72 tons. Now, that's pretty heavy, but with its jet engine, the Abrams can go faster than most other tanks on the battlefield. Officially, it can go up to 42 miles per hour, but unofficially, it'll do over 60.
One of the things that makes this such a great battle tank is its ability to fire multiple weapon systems at the same time. You have the 240, which is a 7.62 fired machine gun. You had the 50 caliber machine gun. And in front of you, you also had the gunner's 7.62 machine gun. Then you had the beauty of the whole entire system, which is the 120 millimeter main gun. 120 millimeter guns fires several different types of ammunition. It fires a saber round, which is made out of depleted uranium, which is able to destroy targets out to approximately 2 kilometers. So we can reach out and touch you.
However tough tanks may appear to be, none of them are invincible to being reached out and touched, whether it's from airborne and homemade explosives, anti-tank guns, or other tanks. And the best way for tanks to hunt other tanks is by detecting the heat from their engine. A tank's metal releases heat very differently from the objects around it. Its heat signature creates a column of warm air, so even if it is hidden behind trees, the landscape, or its own thermal camouflage, it's easy to spot by infrared scanners, making it a good target for blowing up.
I'm William Gasser. I'm Director and Curator of American Armored Foundation Tank and Ordnance War Memorial Museum, or just the Tank Museum. My taste in tanks is a lot like women. They have to be very pretty or extremely ugly, and I mean really ugly. So I personally like the real ugly ones. The tanks that have no personality, have terrible lines, that are just so bizarre of a creation, I really get warm and fuzzy about because they're so special. Somewhere between 5 to 7 years old, I started with my first little toy soldiers. The toys got larger, toy rifles went to real rifles, so finally it's 114 tanks and artillery pieces. And what better way to protect $30 million in weapons than with another weapon? But basically, the creation of the museum was so the collection could be preserved and put under exhibition. Otherwise, traveling to some rich boy's garage to see his toys, to me, just doesn't work, okay? It's when you bring the school tours in, the veterans come in, now it all has purpose. They're only good if somebody else can enjoy them and play with them, so to speak.
When it comes to boys and their toys, Santa, please make it a tank.
This battlefield here at the AAF Tank Museum is the largest indoor battlefield in the world by several times over. The battlefield has over 6,000 square feet of terrain, including a working river, a working pond or a lake, smoke machines, smoke pots to show buildings smoldering from wreckage, and of course, you got the tankers on the battlefield.
The Tamiya tanks are primarily based on World War II tanks, and the tanks are designed to replicate most of the actions of the real tanks. They have a flash in the barrel, most have a recoiling barrel, and you have sounds for when it actually fires the main gun. And the engine sounds are actually recorded from real tanks for that particular model. These tanks are equipped, as designed from the manufacturer, with the Tamiya battle system. This is an infrared system that'll shoot an infrared beam from the tank through an infrared emitter like a TV remote, and there's a sensor on the tank also that will receive hits. If you shoot a tank, it receives the hit and you'll hear an explosion sound that it took the hit, and it imposes damage on the tank, which is generally the slowing of the speed or loss of some functions. And then when you receive enough hits, you hear a large explosion sound, and the lights will flash and the tank is dead. That's how we simulate the combat.
We are the reigning champions. Yeah, we're the first American teams to actually win. The Germans have always won. Everybody thought it was because they had heavy tanks, but we proved that practice is what makes a difference.
They're not easy to operate, and actually to battle with these vehicles, you are in actual combat. Everybody gets along just fine off the battlefield. We eat together and have fun. We talk to each other, talk about tanks. Our wives are involved. On the battlefield, we can kill each other. That's the way it is. But we try to replicate in here as close to it as possible and teach people historical events that happened 60 years ago during World War II. I mean, the only thing I can say is we get to go home in the afternoons where 60 years ago they were buried.
Hey, there's nothing like a good toy to play some war games with, but war machines that work like toys? That's just plain creepy, man. First there was the club, then the knife, then the gun, the cannon, the tank, and then we dropped the bomb. Each new step in battlefield technology has taken us further from the experience of the fight, and so we forge ahead with our remote-controlled machines that work like toys. Confusing? That's right.
The Gladiator system is a 6-wheel drive skid steer system. It would be used with its operator remote from the vehicle, perhaps behind some bushes like these or other concealment. He would be using a remote control system, much like a PlayStation remote control. Unmanned ground robots started primarily in the ordnance disposal area, and Gladiator is one of the very first to be employed as a tactical robot, so a weaponized robot.
This little dude may look harmless enough, but the Gladiator comes packing the AFVs smoke system, the M240 machine gun, and if that doesn't blow your head off, there's always the AFVs obstacle breaching system. What a package.
There are many missions which are very dangerous, and the military sees an application for the remote robots to do those dangerous missions.
Within 10 years, infantry soldiers are expected to go into battle alongside autonomous robots. So, no joysticks, no remote-controlled devices, robots who think for themselves.
Yes, an autonomous system more or less thinks entirely by itself. It doesn't think very deep thoughts. Some of the advantages of autonomous vehicles are that some tasks can be remoted so that people are kept further from harm's way. In the long run, it's to be expected that casualties will be reduced as more and more automation replaces humans. Today's autonomous vehicles work pretty much the way humans do. Just like a soldier needs situational awareness, so also does a ground robot. Based on its perception sensors, which is the technical name for their eyes, they can measure the surrounding environment and try to interpret it in terms of what's an obstacle, what isn't, what's water, what isn't, whether this tree can be bowled over.
According to the U.S. Defense Authorization Act, 1/3 of all operational ground vehicles are supposed to be unmanned by the year 2015. That's right, folks. Robot tanks are coming to a war near you.
In all their incarnations, tanks are incredible machines. They serve as powerful symbols of human battles won and lost. They serve as reminders of what will happen to us if we step out of line. But as long as we continue to create machines that destroy, then we destroy any chance we have of creating real peace. I say, why can't we just...